Welcome back. The trial of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried is getting increasingly heated as his close aides take the stand. The crypto boss is accused of using customers' money to finance his own risky investments at Alameda Research, a hedge fund he founded in 2017. The latest to testify is FTX's co-founder Gary Wang, who is testifying under a plea agreement. Wang told the federal court that he committed financial crimes at FTX with Bankman-Fried. A friend of Bankman-Fried, Adam Yedidia, shed some lights on the alleged vague boundaries between FTX and Alameda Research. He also said that Bankman-Fried was in charge of everything. However, Sam Bankman has pleaded not guilty for all the 13 criminal charges filed against him. In the opening defense, Bankman-Fried's lawyer said that he did not intend to defraud anyone and he acted in good faith. To take this discussion forward, I'm joined by Daniel Silva, shareholder at Buchalter Law Firm. Daniel, give us a sense of what the prosecution, what the U.S. state is trying to do in this case, and what is the kind of punishment, the kind of charges they're pushing against Sam Bankman-Fried.
Good morning from the West Coast of the United States. The United States' focus is bringing all evidence, witnesses, and arguments to bear against Sam Bankman-Fried to accuse him of fraud. Fraud is, in this case, punishable by 20 years as a maximum sentence. And he's accused of multiple types of fraud, both securities fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy to commit fraud. And that fraud was against not only FTX customers, but also FTX and Alameda Research investors. On top of that, he's also accused of attempting to bribe a Chinese official and also make unlawful campaign donations here in the United States. There's one final charge that is operation of an unlicensed money transmitting business, which is punishable by 5 years. The goal of the United States is, as we've already seen, and at least the tactics as they are bearing out, are to find individuals who worked directly with Sam Bankman-Fried. These are people who, on one end, Mr. Wang, as you mentioned, has already pleaded guilty. The other is an individual who is given immunity by the United States to testify that Sam Bankman-Fried knew of this fraud, coordinated this fraud, and also benefited from this fraud.
Right. Daniel, I'd also like to ask you, what will be the implications of this trial for the cryptocurrency industry, not just in US, but do you think it will have ripples on the global cryptocurrency ecosystem?
I'm not an economist. I'm not a cryptocurrency expert. I'm just a former prosecutor, and now I'm an attorney. From a cryptocurrency industry-wide perspective, I'm not so sure. I think indirectly this may embolden some individuals to say that cryptocurrency is one giant fraud or scheme. Others will point to the fact that this was just a individual fraud by a group of people who happen to be running a cryptocurrency company. From my perspective, this is more of the latter. This is a fraud committed through the use of cryptocurrency. But in this instance, FTX worked. People could buy and sell and trade and invest in cryptocurrency in a generally adequate, lawful way. The problem, or at least the allegations here, are that the owners of FTX took all the profits that they were making, or maybe not even the profits, but the customers' money who were buying cryptocurrency and doing something unlawful with it. That said, I think the regulatory scrutiny... Oh, go ahead, please.
No, please go ahead.
I was going to say that the regulatory crackdown, so to speak, that's definitely happening in the United States and elsewhere in the world, I do think that the regulations will begin to catch up. That said, that catching up process was already happening. The SEC here in the United States, the CFTC here in the United States, Europe, various countries in Asia as well, have either been restricting the nature of marketing and selling cryptocurrencies, whether they are deemed commodities or securities, or as we've seen in China, outright bans of cryptocurrency trading. So I think that will accelerate, and I'm not sure that that is a direct consequence of the FTX allegations or trial.
Right. Give us a sense of the kind of victims who may be part of this trial. We have been reading about them. What are there victims also who are pleading before the court?
There may indeed be victims to testify at SBF's trial. In fact, in fraud cases, that's one of the most powerful types of evidence is if someone committed fraud, the allegation that must be proved by the United States is that someone developed a scheme or artifice to defraud or deprive someone of property. That suggests here that there are people who lost property. In this instance, investors who invested money under false pretenses, customers who didn't have their money that they tried to get out when FTX collapsed because FTX used it for improper or unlawful purposes. That is what the United States needs to prove. It's extremely powerful if they had a witness who said, I bought $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency, and when I tried to get it out, I could not. I'm now out $10,000. I couldn't go on the vacation I wanted. I couldn't buy the house I wanted. I couldn't pay for the medical care I needed. All of that is extremely powerful to the jury because the jury in the United States will see that this was a crime that had real impact. More than just doing something wrong, it did something that hurt people.
Right. Now, cases like these set important precedents, and this is being termed as one of the biggest financial frauds in U.S. history. What's going to be Sam Bankman-Fried's defense in this case, according to you?
What we saw in opening statements, and this was always where I thought SBF was going, is that he was a genius, aloof savant who was more focused on generating income and generating investment, because he was the one who developed Alameda Research as an algorithmic trading firm that was profitable. He then, with his colleagues, opened FTX. FTX was this trading hub that was massively, massively profitable and took enormous market share almost immediately. From the stories that have come out and been reported in the media, it suggests that his best defense, and there was some allusion to this in his opening statement by his attorney, that he was above it all, that he was the one who understood the technology behind it and the value proposition of the business. But that does not necessarily mean that he was the guy moving the money in an unlawful way. He was not the one telling the lies as alleged to investors or customers. He was the person who was the face of the company, and he was not the operator of the company. In contrast to that, this is why, starting with two witnesses who were there from the very beginning of Alameda Research and FTX, who were testifying that Sam Bankman-Fried knew everything that they were doing, he supported it, and he was generally in line with them to commit this fraud, it's going to be very difficult for that defense that SBS has to prevail.
Right. And my final question would be, from the collapse of FTX, $8 billion going missing, what are some of the cues that countries around the world should take from this example of Sam Bankman-Fried and the FTX collapse, according to you? The biggest dangers, if you were to highlight.
The biggest danger is that there is a massive cryptocurrency platform, issuer of cryptocurrencies, or some type of trading firm that is not protecting customers' funds. Previously at the Department of Justice here in the United States, I prosecuted a cryptocurrency scheme under the BitConnect coin. And it was very similar in this instance in that there was money moving back and forth to buy cryptocurrencies, but there was no protection set out for the people who were buying, selling, holding, or lending that cryptocurrency. From my perspective, the biggest takeaway is that governments around the world want to protect individual citizens. That is a foundational purpose of governments around the world, is to protect the citizens of that country. Here, if a company can allegedly just walk away with $8 billion worth of cryptocurrency or other people's money in an unlawful or deceptive way, then the government is not doing its job of protecting people and protecting their money. The consequence I see is investor beware, buyer of cryptocurrencies beware, and that governments may take a much harder look on trading firms and cryptocurrency marketing and trading platforms.
All right, Daniel Silva, Thank you very much for joining us on the program, telling us about the importance and the global importance of the Sam Bankman-Fried trial in the US. Thanks once again for being with us. With that, we come to the end of our show, Global Eye. Thank you for watching and goodbye.